Do creatures' similarities show common ancestry or common design? Welcome to Critical Thinking Scan, where we look at how you can think about any faith-challenging message and arrive at a biblical, logical conclusion yourself. I'm Patricia Engler, and today let's see how to apply critical thinking check number 6, check for interpretations, to one of the most classic arguments for evolution, which states that similarities we see in different kinds of living things show that these creatures evolved from a common ancestor. If two animals are thought to have a similarity due to evolution, the similarity is called a homology, and the similar features are called homologous. As a famous example, have you ever opened a textbook to a picture like this? I certainly have. The picture compares the forelimbs of different mammals and humans, and the bone similarities are supposed to show that all these creatures had the same evolutionary ancestor. Is that true? Well, let's think about it by using a few questions which can always help with separating fact from interpretation. The first question is, what's the observational science here? What facts are we observing in the present? In this case, we're observing the forelimbs of different mammals, and we can see that their bones show some similarities. The second question is, what's the historical science? What story is being presented about the past based on assumptions about facts we see in the present? Here, the story is that once upon a time, all these mammals evolved from a common ancestor who had these same arm bones. So today, mammals' similar bone structures supposedly reflects their shared evolutionary heritage. That all sounds pretty straightforward. But what assumptions are hiding behind this explanation? For one thing, the textbook is starting from man's word, with the assumption that mammals evolved from microbes. So the book must also be assuming that evolution can change one kind of creature into another, that the Earth is old enough to allow time for this to happen, and that mutations can create functionally new genetic information for structures like flippers and wings. Those are a lot of assumptions with some serious scientific problems. But let's keep moving on to the third question, which is, what's the rest of the story? Remember, what you see in textbooks or museums is usually the most polished presentation of an evolutionary explanation for something. And there's probably more to the story than what you're hearing. In this case, like you can learn more about in the resources linked to this video, the idea of homology has some pretty serious difficulties. For instance, it's not unusual for supposedly homologous structures to be encoded by different genes, or to develop through different processes. As one evolutionist writes, there is mounting evidence that homologous characters from distantly related organisms like grasshoppers and fruit flies often use quite different genes for the development of clearly homologous characters like insect body segments. As another example, the forelimbs of birds, reptiles, and mammals are thought to be homologous, but develop from different embryonic body segments. That's not really what you'd expect if they all shared the same ancestor. Furthermore, many creatures which are not considered closely related show strikingly similar features. Pill bugs and pill millipedes, for instance, look and even behave very similarly, but they're from completely different subphyla. Humans and squids are far from related, yet have similar eyes. Such similarities are called analogous instead of homologous. And evolutionists have to say these similar features all develop separately through a process called convergent evolution. Well, let's go to the last question, which is, could there be an alternative explanation for creatures' similarities? How could we interpret mammals' similar forelimbs from a biblical perspective? One reasonable interpretation is that these forelimbs are similar not because mammals had the same ancestor, but because they had the same creator. This creator in turn engineered mammals' forelimbs according to an excellent design plan which he could apply to many different inventions, even non-mammalian animals like lizards and frogs. It's sort of like how many man-made vehicles have similar wheels, because wheels are an excellent design applicable to everything from unicycles to space shuttles. But we wouldn't say that space shuttles evolved from unicycles. Ultimately then, homologous structures provide a real-life example of how to separate fact from interpretation. For more on how to think critically about any faith-challenging messages, you can access my other CT scan videos packed with tactics, tips, and tools that helped me as a Christian student at secular university. Thank you for watching. Hey, it's Patricia. Just wanting to let you know that if you like these videos, are on board to share the message of biblical authority, and want to give, you're welcome to help Answers in Genesis produce more content like this and equip more people to defend their faith by making a one-time donation or becoming a monthly supporter by clicking the link below. Thanks so much.